seated. Honorable Dr. Hasno.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for giving me the opportunity to intervene on the Dangerous Drug Amendment Bill number 15 of 2022. Before I go any further, I would like to take a point raised by the Honourable Member from constituency number 15, Honourable Lobin. He mentions that while answering a PNQ in 2019, I said, well, the government at that time won't consider medicinal cannabis because no research was done in Mauritius, and he finds this a lame excuse. I would like to ask him whether in Mauritius we have the facilities and the population to do this kind of research. I'm just going to mention one or two research which have been published in the last few weeks, Mr. Speaker, sir. Cannabis has been dubbed, according to the latest research, as a new tobacco by doctors after a raft of new researchers in the state in Canada I'm talking about, reveals that it is as damaging to the heart as smoking. Now, these studies involve large population studies, hundreds of thousands of people. Do you think we could have done that in Mauritius? That's what I said at that time, but he did not understand. In a trial done in Canada recently, after a single session of inhaling cannabis was enough to alter the heart rate and the blood pressure of the person. And this change could be enough to induce a heart attack in susceptible person. Could we have done that in Mauritius, Mr. Speaker, sir? Another study, a New Jersey study, a New Jersey-based cardiologist said, when the tobacco industry first began, years ago, we did not know the damage caused by smoking. It was only once it was in widespread use that we started seeing the health consequence of tobacco smoking, and thus we acted to limit the smoking. Unfortunately, by this time, millions of people have died with avoidable death. Is that what we should do again for cannabis? The experts say, I feel that we are going through the same thing that with cannabis now that we did with tobacco. Another American studies involve 35 million hospital administration. I wonder whether we can do that in Mauritius. The odds of cannabis use cause the patient to develop acute coronary syndrome, that is heart attack, was the same as in cigarette smokers. Yes. And in patients over 60 years of age who use cannabis were more likely to have a stroke. What I mean by stroke, for those people who don't understand what a stroke is, c'est une thrombose coronaire. Cerebral, which can paralyze somebody. And another, I'm going to cite all these studies because the honorable member said that we should have done the studies here in Mauritius. When I said that we cannot do them, he was perplexed about it. Another American Heart Association expert, the worry is that we are seeing an increased risk of heart attack and stroke even in younger adults. These are the consequences of cannabis smoking, Mr. Speaker. And I mentioned that at the time in 2019, we could not do these studies, and that I'm just citing the studies now. And that's why I cited it at the time, because we could not do it in Mauritius. And what I find interesting, the honorable member, in that particular answer in that particular PNQ, I also mentioned that this government is going to consider cannabis, medicinal cannabis, after we have got the report from the WHO and the UN Commission on Drugs. And yes, as we have received the report, it has been accepted by WHO and the UN Committee on Drugs, this government has come with this bill, Mr. Speaker, sir. That's what I said at that time, but he conveniently forget to mention that bit. I don't know why. The leader of the opposition says that the price of heroin is about 100 rupees per dose, synthetics about 100 rupees per dose, cannabis is 300 per dose. That's why a lot of people are being admitted to the hospital with synthetic intoxication. I find this raisonnement very naive. Is he going to say that because the drug of cannabis is high that people is taking synthetic? No. I mean, if you take coke, you take cocaine, the price is very high. Meth, the price is very high, but you still have people taking that. People take the drug that they want. They want to get a certain kind of experience. Different drug give you different experience, and they take the drug that they want, that they like. To say that he can decrease the admission by decrease the price of cannabis, that is to flood the island with cannabis, that's going to decrease the admission to hospital, I think that's a bit naive reasoning. Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't think I'm going to go too much in detail from what the Honorable Lobin said and the leader of the opposition as well said, because I get the impression they have an agenda to legalize or to decriminalize cannabis. I have cited some of the studies to say what havoc cannabis is doing now in the state, in Canada, in UK, and I'll leave it to the House to make up the decision. If you allow me to come back to my speech, sir, as you are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, the drug problem in Mauritius has been a long-standing one. In fact, the MSM government and the Prime Ministership of Sir Anirudh Jagnat did set up a commission of inquiry on drug trafficking in March 1986 under the chair of Chief Justice Sir Maurice Roux. In 2011, the then government refused to consider a commission of inquiry on drug trafficking. In 2018, it is again the MSM government under the leadership of Pravin Kumar Jagnat, which set up a second commission on inquiry on drug trafficking. And now, some members of the opposition say that at least we are not taking that problem. We are not giving due consideration to this problem. Don't know what to say. This commission, the second one, look at a different aspect of drug problems, from the supply side to the demand side. Honorable Nandibora was talking about the supply side, but this bill is mainly about the demand side. So the government has been taking care of both sides, the supply side and the demand side. And this bill is mainly about the demand side, Mr. Speaker. On the supply side, I won't be too long. As we have seen in the last few years, and the last few weeks as well, a very commendable work has been done by the different departments of the police force. It's not an easy task. It's going to take time, but I'm sure with the determination of the Prime Minister, courageous and sustainable action are being taken and will continue to be taken in the future to disrupt the network and the tentacles of these drug dealers. Almost every week, major seizures in terms of billions of rupees are being done. And here, we have to say a special thank to all the different authorities that are coordinating this difficult work. In the past, only yesterday, in the passing out parade, the Prime Minister mentioned loud and clear that the government is giving all necessary support to the police to dismantle the drug ring. He's giving all the necessary manpower, sophisticated equipment, anything to control the situation. And that's the determination of this government, Mr. Speaker. On the demand side, allow me to mention a few statistics, Mr. Speaker. At present, we have about 7,000 patients on methadone substitution therapy, 6,704 males and 301 females. There is also a significant number of admission due to complication of drug intake. For example, in 2021, 927 persons were admitted to hospital in severe condition. These include 864 male and 63 female. And the maximum age group affected was made between 15 and 39 years. The main drug involved was a new psychoactive substance, that is synthetic. In 55% of cases, opioids 31% of cases, and cannabis 6% of cases. The above figures I've just mentioned refers to the acute admission. In a survey carried out in the community where people taking drugs were interviewed, 60% of them said they have been taking heroin in the last 1 month. 61% has been taking cannabis, and 57% have been taking synthetic drug. The methadone substitution therapy has been very effective in curbing the complications of intravenous drug administration. For example, the prevalence of HIV in 2009 was 47% among the IV drug users. And in 2020, that is 11 years later, the prevalence has come down to 22%. This shows that the methadone substitution therapy has decreased the IV drug users and hence, the number of complications in IV drug users, and hence the prevalence of HIV in the community. As far as hepatitis C is concerned, this has come down slightly, but this is a much more infectious disease, and recently we have started the treatment for hepatitis C. The government is working, Mr. Speaker, to decrease the prevalence of hepatitis C in the future as well. The number of petty crimes related to drug addiction has also come down significantly following the start of methadone substitution therapy. While the methadone substitution therapy has been a success, as I've mentioned above, it has also a number of challenges. For example, we have the overcrowding at the dispensing site, with loitering of the methadone beneficiaries, thus invading the public spaces and causing antisocial and sometimes aggressive behavior. There's also the problem of diversion of methadone at dispensing site, not to mention complaints from health personnel, force vive residents of the localities where methadone is being dispensed, and complaints from the educational institution. Here, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to add that this government has already put in place a mechanism which is focused on the rehabilitation of drug users. For example, Le Centre Nénuphar at Mont-Ailon Hospital and another rehab center at Mayberg Hospital. Le Centre Nénuphar was opened in October 2018 and caters mainly for young people. It is because why for young people we need a different center? Because it is not wise to mix young people taking drugs with other drug users. It can create more complications. Previously, we did not have any center to treat young people. That's why we opened the center at Mont-Ailon. In 2021, 24 youth in the bracket age of 15 to 18 and 54 in the age bracket of 19 to 23 were admitted for inpatient treatment in this center. Despite all these measures, there are still some shortcomings in the management of patients taking drugs. That's why this government come up with this drug user administrative panel. That's why this government come with this amendment, Mr. Speaker. In its report published in July 2018, the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking recommended the setting up of the Drug Offenders Administrative Panel. The main function and objective of this panel would be to help deal with victims of substance abuse, not just to criminalize action, but trying to help the drug user in a holistic way to break the cycle of dependence and hopefully to enable them to find their way back in society. The Drug Administrative Panel, the Drug User Administrative Panel, will just ensure that those people are not tried in the criminal justice system as it is presently done, but will have the chance to undergo rehabilitation, such as education, counseling, treatment, aftercare, and social reintegration. In this context, under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister, the High-Level HIV and Drug Council recommended the setting up of the Drug User Administrative Panel to be set up as an administrative body completely independent from the criminal justice system. And the job would be under the purview of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The technical committee was set up under the Ministry of Health and Wellness, as I mentioned, and a flowchart has been established from the interception of a drug user by the police until referral to the job for medical and social management. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am sure this new setup will help the drug users, but especially these young people who fall in this abyss of drug addiction. drug addiction. Without this professional help, these young people would just waste their life away and may eventually die prematurely. As mentioned in Section 2 of this bill, the above setup will apply for rehabilitation of suspected person who has committed having a drug offense for his personal consumption, not drug traffickers. Here, government is moving towards a humane approach in giving that particular person a fair chance to rehabilitate himself, to overcome his drug addiction to drugs and find his way back to society. This section of the bill, Mr. Speaker, makes mention about government waiving off police persecution on the recommendation of the Director of Public Prosecution for that particular person, and instead refer him to the Drug User Administrative Panel. Mr. Speaker, sir, if you would please allow me now to say a few words on medicinal cannabis. In January 2019, WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus made recommendation to the United Nations to update the scope of control of cannabis and cannabis-related substances to reflect emerging therapeutic role of cannabis-based medicine, whilst at the same time continue to prevent the diversion, misuse, and other public health-related harm that may arise from cannabis use. On the 2nd of December 2020, the United Nations Commission on Narcotic Drug, the drug policy-making body of the UN, reclassified cannabis and cannabis resin. One of the main decisions was to delete cannabis and cannabis resin from Schedule 4 of the 1961 Convention, but maintain it in the Schedule 1 of 1961 Convention for control purposes. On the 11th of December 2020, the Cabinet set up here. That decision was taken in the 2nd of December 2020 by the United Nations. And on the 11th of December 2020, Cabinet here in Mauritius set up a technical committee on medicinal cannabis. And now these people are saying that we are not doing anything. We have not done anything for the last 3 years. This technical committee met 6 times and had 4 subcommittees were set up to come up with recommendations on the medicinal use of cannabis. The report of the technical committee was submitted to Cabinet on the 26th of November 2021. Following the report of the technical committee, a steering committee was set up at the Ministry of Health and Wellness to look into the implementation of the recommendation on medicinal cannabis. A very detailed and comprehensive study was carried out by the steering committee, which included representatives of the medical specialties, including oncology, psychiatry, neurology, pediatrics, geriatric, amongst others. The steering committee looked at a different aspect of the problem, including formulation to be adopted, guidelines, and protocol. The committee based its recommendation on the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence, the NICE guidelines from UK, and Agence Nationale de Sécurité du Médicament et des Produits de Santé guidelines from France. The indication for use of cannabis, as agreed by the steering committee, were as follows. Firstly, spasticity associated with multiple sclerosis, resistant to all conventional treatment. Severe refractory epilepsy that has failed to respond to conventional anti-conventional treatment. Intractable nausea and vomiting associated with chemotherapy that has failed to respond to conventional treatment. And severe intractable pain unresponsive to conventional treatment. I am sure with time, if the necessity arises, other indication would be included in this list, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is to be noted that medicinal cannabis is not a first-line drug. It is only when medical condition does not respond to the usual medicine that the doctor would consider medicinal cannabis. Medical cannabis would be a second or third-line treatment. The committee has also agreed that cannabis-based medication approved by the following bodies would be considered to be used in Mauritius. That's very important. Not anybody can come out with a concoction of cannabis and say he wants to take it as medicinal compound. No way. I mean, the body that has, whose formulation has been accepted are the FDA from the state, European Medicine Agency, Health Canada, Therapeutic Good Agency of Australia, South African Health Product Regulatory Agencies. It is to be noted also that cannabis-based medication will be in the form of capsule oil-based solution or suspension or an oromucosal spray. Smoking and vaping formulation have not been included in the above regulation. Très important, Mr. Speaker. It must also be emphasized that a medicinal cannabis therapeutic committee will be set up in every regional hospital and will, on a case-to-case basis, determine whether a patient needs medicinal cannabis for his treatment or not. I would like also to mention that several countries have authorized the use of medicinal cannabis. This includes, as we all have heard before, Canada, Czech Republic, Germany, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, sir, may I also mention that in the present bill, provision has also been made to empower the forensic science lab to analyze a sample of drugs seized rather than analyzing all the dangerous drugs seized. In addition, provision has also been made to allow the police, on the order of a district magistrate, to destroy dangerous drugs seized rather than keeping same to be produced in a court of law. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill will be a significant step forward in the treatment and rehabilitation of drug users, and also in considering medicinal cannabis for the treatment of patients suffering from specific conditions. We are all aware of the havoc caused by this dangerous drug. This government is committed to ensure that law enforcement and our health service has the necessary tool to control the drug supply and also to provide better medical, psychological, and social treatment to this patient. Today, this government is presenting a bill to the House which has taken into consideration all the aspects of dangerous drugs, from supply to rehabilitation. It is also a fact that many local health experts and social workers have taken part in the discussion on the modalities of treatment, and they have welcomed the introduction of this bill. On an ending note, Mr. Speaker, sir, on this side of the House, we entirely support this bill. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I now ask the Deputy Speaker to take over.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Honourable Yutim.
I'm glad to see so many honourable members from the other side of the House supporting the use of medicinal cannabis. We on this side of the House welcome the shift in the attitude of this government on the use of medicinal cannabis. Because for years now, we have been asking government to bring legislative changes to enable patients to be treated with cannabis-based medication. Honourable Lakshman Roy just referred to the case of the former athlete, Mr. Raman, who needed medicinal cannabis to treat his ailment, and he has to travel to South Africa to get it. But does the honourable member know that the case of Mr. Raman was raised in this very House in a PNQ as far back as 9 July 2019, 3 long years ago for this patient, 3 long years ago. And during that PNQ, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition referred to the recommendation of WHO Expert Committee on Drug Dependence, that cannabis derived pharmaceutical preparation be available for medical use. He also referred to the decision of the Food and Drug Administration of the United States of America to authorize the use of cannabidiol medicine for patients suffering from epilepsy. And of course, he referred to the case of Mr. Raman. But what is interesting is to know what was the reaction of the Honourable Minister, the then Honourable Minister of Health. And what was the reaction, what was the government policy then? The Honourable Minister was not prepared at all to follow the recommendation of WHO in 2019. He was not prepared to allow the importation of cannabidiol medicine approved by FDA in the United States. And he stated that cancer and epilepsy, but there are other means of treating them. You don't need to use cannabis-based medication. So, you know, I'm not inventing anything, Honourable Minister. I was here during this exchange, and it's all in Hansard. Several members referred to the report of the Commission of Inquiry on Drug. Back in 2018, more than 4 years ago, the Commission recommended a study be conducted to determine if the local cannabis may be used for medicinal purposes in the light of evolution noted in certain countries. 4 years ago, nothing happened. January 2019, almost 4 years ago, World Health Organization made a series of recommendations to change the scope of control of cannabis. Nothing happened. It is only after the decision of the United Nations Commission on Narcotic Drugs in December 2020 that finally government set up a technical committee under the chairmanship of Professor Bahuran in December 2020. The terms of reference of the technical committee included, and I quote, providing advice and recommendation to the Ministry of Health and Wellness and to the government regarding policies and guidance pertaining to the use of medical cannabis and establishing the basis of a non-recreational cannabis industry in Mauritius. It's very interesting that one of the terms of reference was to establish the basis of a non-recreational cannabis industry in Mauritius, but of course this bill does not say anything about cultivation of cannabis or cannabis for recreational use. The technical committee submitted its report in November 2021 and made several recommendations. The main recommendation was that plant-derived cannabidiol, CBD, and tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, be used for medical purposes in Mauritius. So it's only 1 year after the report and 3 years after the PNQ of the leader of the opposition that the government is bringing this bill to legalize medicinal cannabis. Better late than never, but so many patients have suffered in the meantime. So, Deputy Speaker, sir, I have a few observations on the bill, which some of it is technical, and I do apologize if I can have it completely wrong, because I'm not a doctor and still less an expert in medicinal cannabis. But when I look at the definition of medicinal cannabis, which is at section 3 of the bill, I see that the definition is limited to only products derived from cannabis plant which contain tetrahydrocannabinol, THC. But the technical committee also recommended the use of medicine containing CBD, cannabidiol, as well as medicine which contain both THC and CBD. So does I take it now that under this definition, we will not be able to import and use medicinal cannabis which contains only CBD and does not contain any THC? I say so because, I'm not a doctor, but I have been told that medicine containing cannabidiol is used to treat chronic pain, insomnia, and anxiety, as well as seizure. So I welcome the clarification from the Honourable Minister in summing up. The bill sets out the procedure to be followed before medicinal cannabis can be dispensed in a regional hospital by an authorized pharmacist to an authorized patient. So you need to have first an authorized doctor who is sufficiently qualified, and then he makes a request to the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee. But what happens if the committee rejects the application? The law doesn't provide any recourse, any appeal. And yet, before this request went to the committee, at least one authorized specialist doctor, in his opinion, thought that this was a fit case for the patient to be given medicinal cannabis. So I think this is a shortcoming. There must at least have been some sort of recourse, appeal procedure for any patient who feels that they have been wrongly treated by the committee. There is also no prescribed time period within which the committee must communicate its decision. Section 28E only provides that the committee shall, upon receipt of a request, approve or reject the request. Another provision which has been criticized with the Deputy Speaker, sir, is the fact that the treatment with medicinal cannabis cannot be more than 3 months. Now, why does a patient have to go through the same ordeal every 3 months if, for example, he's unlikely to be cured within 3 months? This will probably be the case with a patient suffering from epilepsy or a cancer patient. So in my opinion, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I think that the committee should be given some latitude for cases where, there's no chance of recovery. We all know there's no real cure for cancer. So I think these patients, they can be given a longer-term treatment instead of only 3 months. Now, with regards to patients coming from abroad, Section 28K, it provides that it will not be an offense for a person who travels to Mauritius to be in possession of medicinal cannabis where he has a prescription to be treated with that medicinal cannabis and is authorized as such by the ministry. So I take it that if the ministry does not give the authorization, that patient will be guilty of an offense of being in possession of dangerous drug. So at least, I hope that the minister, I know that he has power under these amendments to come up with the necessary protocol, the necessary regulation, so that any tourist traveling to Mauritius can know beforehand what is the procedure to get all the clearance from the ministry so that he can bring with him or her the quantity that is required for her during the stay in Mauritius, the quantity of cannabis, medicinal cannabis. So much for medicinal cannabis. The second major aspect of this bill, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, relate to the non-prosecution and rehabilitation of drug users. Again, on this side of the House, we welcome the change in policy of the government. Change in policy because as far back as May 2018, 4.5 years ago, the honorable leader of the opposition had in a PNQ pleaded for a change in attitude towards drug users who have been found in possession of drugs for personal consumption. He pleaded that drug users should not be sent to jail, and the fact that they have committed a drug offense should not appear in their certificate of character. Unfortunately, 4 years ago, the Honorable Prime Minister was unmoved on that at that time. So we are pleased that this bill is a step in the right direction. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the position of the MMM on drug is well known. The MMM has always made a difference between drug traffickers and drug users. The MMM has a policy of zero tolerance with regards to drug traffickers. And this is why you will never see barristers from MMM defend any drug traffickers. Honorable Ganu and Honorable Obigadu knows about it. And I'm very proud. I am very proud.
No.
I am very proud of the fact.
No.
No, this is my. I'm very proud that since I've been called.
No, Honorable Yutim.
Yes.
There is a way to say it fairly, but now pointing out to ministers and saying they're defending traffickers.
No. Honorable Ganu and Obigadi were in MMM, so they know what is the policy. This is what I meant. This is what I never said that.
That's fair.
Honorable, this is the policy of the MMM.
But
barristers close to the MMM don't defend drug traffickers. This is the policy.
Order. I'm sure you got my point. And I'm sure it is fair not pointing out anybody.
Okay.
If you didn't do it, you didn't do it. Fair.
Okay.
Continue.
So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was saying that I'm very proud of the fact that since I've been called to the bar in Mauritius back in 1995, I've never ever defended a drug trafficker, and I've never ever taken a cent from any drug trafficker. I'm saying it because Honorable Ramdani, in his intervention, alleged that members of the opposition have been defending a drug trafficker of Slovak origin. I suppose that he's talking about Peter Ilsirek. Yes, I asked a PQ to the Prime Minister on this trafficker. I asked the PQ because, as a barrister, I did not agree that the immigration officer could deport a person in contempt of the decision of the judge of the Supreme Court. I never, listen, I've listened to you. Listen to me. I have never defended Peter Usurek. I have never met him, never spoken to him in my life. But what Honorable Ramdeni does not say, in that PQ that I asked to the Prime Minister, we were informed that EDB gave that drug trafficker 3 years occupational permit when he was Minister of Finance in his government. And what we were told also, that the Honorable Attorney General knew 1 year before Mr. Usurek was deported that he was a drug trafficker because the authorities in Slovakia had contacted him to make him aware. And during that 1 year, he roamed freely in Mauritius. And then you're pointing fingers at MMM.
Order!
And there was
Order, please, Honorable team. What? Wait. Order, First of all, before giving way or having a point of order, you should be listening to the speaker, even if he's a deputy speaker. So, let's go step by step. You were debating, and Mr. Attorney General has a point of order. I won't listen to it.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you for giving me the floor. The point of order is the last sentence of Honourable Utim is out of order in the sense that what was said in that last part of his speech was never on record, and what he's saying is wrong. That ought not to be recorded. In all fairness, Honourable Utim, I think you should make amends. Thank you.
Order. In the middle of all these noises, I wonder what you said last word. But if you think you can withdraw it right now, I'll have to go back and check.
I'm not going to withdraw anything because I stand by everything that I've said.
No problem.
Yes.
One second. Honorable Attorney General, because I cannot have an exact grasp of what the last sentence was. I'll take note of it, I'll check the recording, I'll come back to you. Everybody's happy? You can continue, please.
And more importantly, there was no barristers of MMM mentioned in the report of the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking. And I don't need to repeat who were the lawyers who were blaming that report and to which political party they belong. They are in your bureau politique. They are in... So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we are glad that it is a step in the right direction. It is a price in the right direction that we are having this drug administrative panel, because if the drug victim undergoes rehabilitation and complies with the terms and conditions of rehabilitation, then he will not be prosecuted. So if he's not going to be prosecuted, then the offense of possession of drug will not appear in his certificate of character. This is a marked improvement. But one plea to the Honourable Minister of Health is to bring clarification to Section 59B, subsection 2, because as it is currently worded, it would appear that DPP can only refer the drug user to the panel on the recommendation of the Commissioner of Police. And I think that the DPP must be given full latitude in himself, in his own deliberate judgment, and not just based on the information communicated by the Commissioner of Police, but I will go further and I'll say that even in the course of a trial, even when someone is being prosecuted before he is sentenced, if according to the DPP, if he feels that it is a fit case to refer the matter to the panel, the law should allow it to do so. At the moment, it doesn't allow him to do so. He can only do so if the Commissioner of Police makes a request to him, and only before the start of legal proceedings. Before concluding, because I have only 20 minutes, I'd like to clarify a misunderstanding which many people may have. Section 34 of the Dangerous Drug Act is not being amended. It is still a criminal offense to smoke, to inhale, to sniff, to consume, or administer to oneself or to someone else any dangerous drug, including cannabis. I think it's very important because there are some people out there who think that now, if you're going to smoke cannabis or take drugs, you'll be treated as a patient and sent to the panel. This is not correct. It is still an offense, but if according to the Commissioner of Police and the DPP, it is a fit case to refer it to the panel, then it will be referred to the panel. This is why we say it's a step in the right direction, but it does not go further enough. What we on the side of the opposition want is that no drug consumer should be sent to jail under any circumstance. I hope that will come eventually, but this is not what the law currently says. So, Deputy Speaker, sir, the other proposed amendments relate to the acts of police officers, body searches of suspect, and destruction of dangerous drugs. As rightly pointed out by Honourable Tilak, these amendments come at a time when the credibility and integrity of the unit of police dealing with drugs, be it ADSU or the so-called striking team, have been challenged and called into question. We are giving power to police officers to transport and dispatch drugs, when some police officers have been involved in drug offences. We had PQs on that, while others have been accused of planting drugs. We are giving powers to police officers to destroy drugs before a trial, at a time when there are allegations that drugs seized in one place are being planted in another place. I'm not saying that these allegations are true. I'm not saying that these are true. The courts will ultimately decide the matter. But do honourable members realize what this means? The police arrest a person because he found drugs in his house, and there is no DNA of that suspect on the drug. The police arrest a person because they found drugs in his car, and many people believe that it is the police who have planted the drug. Do honourable members realize? I'm not saying that the police did.
Order. I don't want no throwing stone at anybody right now. There's no conviction of planting. So be careful.
That's
You
what
withdraw
I said
whatever
the
you
people believe. I didn't say that there is actual planting. I'm saying that the mere fact that someone believes.
Order. Honourable Biaram, do you want to take a walk outside? I'll allow you some fresh air. Honourable Yatim. So let me have it clear. You're not making any sort of allegation on any police officers of this country as of now. You're saying people believe, but those people are not here. You believe. No. I cannot have debates on opinion. Order. I just won't be fair about my duty. Please, help out. I'm not preventing you from making whatever debate seems fit to you, but I cannot simply go on like people believe and then suddenly it's an allegation. And yeah, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm totally happy with it. Yes. Honourable Nakshedi, come back after the speech of Mr. Otim, please.
So, Deputy Speaker,
I'm not ordering you out. I'm telling you gently, come back after the speech. Please.
Sir Deputy Speaker, sir, the point I was making
No,
is
no,
the
no, no,
same
no, no.
that...
No, hold on. Just we move on from this point. I don't agree with you saying people are believing whatever.
I'm not on this. And what I'm saying is,
So-
Honorable Tilak said that the police are under attack. He said it. He was not stopped when he said it. He said it not out of his mind. He said it because police are under attack. Yeah, being attacked. But the fact is
what's happening
that
is-
you need to realize why. Why does the population has lost faith? Why are there all these speculation? Who is responsible of the police force today? You talk about the commission of inquiry.
Honorable Ramano. Honorable Ramano. And last time, Honorable Ramano, take a walk, please. Take a walk, please. Take a walk. Come back after your team, please.
The Deputy Speaker, sir, Sir Deputy Speaker, sir, all the honourable members on the other side have said that this bill is implementing recommendation of the Commissioner of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking. And it is the thing. The main object of this bill is to amend Dangerous Drug Act so as to implement the recommendation of the Commissioner of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking. And I have this report here.
Time.
And what? I'm finished all that. 30 seconds.
One
30
second,
seconds.
one second. You started at 21:41. We
Yes,
have
I was being
24
interrupted
minutes. I've been not.
Yes. 30 seconds. I'll just quote what they say. 30 seconds.
Order.
He interrupted me.
Order, please. One line, more than a line, you'll take a walk too.
Yes. One of the main recommendations of the Commissioner of Inquiry is the disbandment of the ATSU and Custom Anti-Narcotic Unit and to replace them by a single independent body, the National Drug Investigation Commission, and this bill does not do that. Thank you.
I'm grateful. You did it in a line. You're quite capable, aren't you? Honorable Toussaint, I'm sure will have.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
And
Sir?
just to inform, like, the two members can come back. It was just take a
Yes,
walk.
Josephine, écoute-moi. Monsieur le Président, je ne suis ni homme de loi ni médecin. Je suis simplement un parent et qui comprend et qui ressent la douleur et la souffrance d'un parent dont l'enfant est tombé dans l'enfer de la drogue. Et il va sans dire que notre gouvernement, sous le leadership de notre Premier ministre, nous menons un combat inlassable contre le fléau de la drogue. Et aujourd'hui, depuis la semaine dernière, nous débattons du Dangerous Drug Amendment Bill, apporté ici à l'Assemblée par le ministre, l'honorable Jagatpal, et après avoir fait un gros travail avec son équipe au sein du ministère et aussi avec toute l'équipe de l'Attorney General, pour amender le Dangerous Drugs Act. Donc, comme je l'ai dit au commencement, je ne suis pas un homme de loi, mais c'est une propose et bill très simple à comprendre, direct, droit au but, avec 3 points importants, donc le Drug Users Administrative Panel, le Medicinal Cannabis et aussi la possibilité de, pour la police de détruire les drogues saisies. Monsieur le Président, le combat contre la drogue, c'est un combat que tout le monde, nous devrions mettre la tête ensemble parce qu'il s'agit de notre population. Il s'agit de nos enfants, il s'agit des enfants de la famille, de nos voisins. il s'agit de notre peuple. Donc, ce n'est pas le combat seul du gouvernement, ce n'est pas le combat seul des autorités, du ministère de la Santé, des ONG, ce n'est pas le combat seul de l'opposition, c'est le combat de tout un chacun. Et je trouve navrant, avec tout le respect, je trouve navrant le cheap politics mené par l'honorable membre qui a parlé juste avant moi. Je ne me propose pas de réfuter point par point tout ce qu'il a dit, mais je constate que le processus de Zetlabou sur la force policière continue. Et c'est navrant. Et j'espère que tous les membres de la force policière entendent ce que je suis en train de dire. Oui, comme dans toutes les professions, il y a certainement des brebis galeuses parmi les avocats. On en a vu récemment. Mais ce n'est pas pour cela que nous allons Zetlabou sur tous les avocats. Et ce que... Je fais la liaison, hein, je ne suis pas en train de faire un jeu de mots avec l'arbre fruitier, avec tout le respect pour mon ami Lebin. C'est comme ça en français, il faut faire la liaison. Ce que mon collègue, l'honorable ministre Tilak, avait dit, oui, c'est vrai que la force policière, les autorités, they are under pressure. Et avec l'opération de Zetlabou, le travail devient encore plus difficile et plus compliqué. Nous avons besoin de nos policiers. Nous avons besoin des autorités dans ce combat inlassable contre les trafiquants et contre la mafia. Dans son discours, un petit peu avant, l'honorable Boda a parlé d'une volonté réelle. Oui, honorable membre, ici, nous, de ce côté de la Chambre, avec notre Premier ministre, nous avons la volonté de combattre le fléau de la drogue. Et ce n'est pas juste de la volonté sur papier, de discours, c'est une volonté que nous transformons dans la pratique et dans notre vie de tous les jours. Nous avons cette volonté, que l'honorable membre soit rassuré. Et nous allons continuer notre travail malgré tout ce qui peut être dit, malgré les Zetlabou, malgré les bâtons dans les roues. Mais comme je l'ai dit au commencement, c'est un projet de loi très simple, direct, et certainement il y a eu des questions valables, et en temps et lieu, je pense que l'honorable ministre, dans son summing up, pourra apporter plus d'éclaircissements. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui s'agit du cannabis medicinal cannabis, je souhaiterais apporter un petit éclaircissement par rapport au monde du sport. Ici à Maurice, nous faisons partie de l'Organisation mondiale contre le dopage, donc WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency, et nous avons, notre National Anti-Doping Organization, le NADE, qui mène une lutte contre le dopage, que ce soit à travers des produits illicites, que ce soit à travers la drogue, et ainsi de suite. Et donc, au niveau de l'État mauricien, nous avons fait plusieurs contrôles, plusieurs tests dans le cadre de différentes activités sportives qui sont menées sur notre sol. Et dans le cadre des Jeux de la CGSEI qui viendront en décembre, du 4 au 11, il y aura aussi une sensibilisation parce que nous, d'après les codes du WADA, nous ne faisons pas de tests antidopage sur des jeunes de 14 à 17 ans, mais il y aura une campagne de sensibilisation for clean sports. Et j'attire l'attention des athlètes élites quand ce projet de loi sera enacted et deviendra une loi. Donc, avec tout le processus mis sur place par le ministère de la Santé, il sera possible pour des patients d'avoir accès au medicinal cannabis. Dans le cadre où un athlète élite doit utiliser ce traitement. Donc, j'attire leur attention que jusqu'à présent, according to the WADA code, all natural and synthetic cannabinoids are prohibited. Qui veut dire, d'après l'Agence internationale contre le dopage, donc même le cannabis médical est interdit. Il y a donc, vous savez, il y a ce qu'on appelle un Therapeutic Use Exemption Certificate qui peut être émis par WADA, par NADE. Il y a des athlètes qui font des traitements contre l'asthme, par exemple. Ils doivent avoir ce certificat pour expliquer, pour montrer qu'ils sont en train de suivre un traitement contre l'asthme et qu'il y a certains médicaments qu'ils sont en train de prendre. Au cas où ils font une compétition et qu'ils sont testés positifs de ces substances, ils ont leur certificat pour venir prouver qu'ils sont under treatment. Donc, il ira de soi, de même, en ce qu'il s'agit du cannabis médical. Donc, en temps et lieu, donc, je voulais expliquer cela clairement pour que les athlètes élites, éventuellement, s'ils vont utiliser ce traitement pour telle et telle cause et telle maladie, dans les compétitions qui vont partir, ils seront obligés d'avoir un Therapeutic Use Exemption Certificate. Je ne vais pas revenir en long et en large sur le Drug Users Administrative Panel. Tout le monde, je crois, on est unanime, même si pour certains, il y a des petits ajustements, etc., et que certains essayent de tirer la couverture sur eux, pour dire, nous qui disons ça, etc. At the end, it will be here. Et ce sera aux personnes en difficulté, soit aux usagers de drogue, qui vont en bénéficier par rapport à ce panel. Whatever, j'ai mis ça dans mon programme, j'en ai parlé des siècles de cela. Aïe, oh, papa, oh. C'est une perte de temps et c'est pas ça qui fera que dans une élection, pour gagner la croix en plus ou en moins. Voyons large, voyons grand, ouvrez l'esprit. This measure, cet amendement proposé dans cette loi, c'est pour notre population, c'est pour nos jeunes qui sont en difficulté et qui vont voir ouvrir une porte plus loin devant. And that's all that matters. Same too. Alors, donc, Monsieur le Président, je ne vais pas revenir dessus, c'est expliqué, c'est clair, c'est net comme l'eau de roche. Et moi, je voudrais juste peut-être pour terminer, rapidement parler de la prévention. Et l'appel que nous faisons à nos jeunes surtout, ne tombez pas dedans. T'essayez, te tasser. Alors, il y a tellement de choses que vous pouvez faire et la vie est belle. Vous avez votre jeunesse devant vous. Il y a tellement de choses que vous, les jeunes, vous pouvez faire. Vous pouvez vous engager dans le sport, dans l'art, dans la recherche, dans la science. Vous pouvez aller aider les autres. Vous pouvez vous engager dans une ONG. Il y a tellement de choses à faire et la vie est belle. Engagez-vous. Restez sur le bon côté de la route et ne vous laissez pas tenter, n'essayez même pas de toucher à ce fléau de la drogue. Et, Monsieur le Président, dans les Youth Hubs, donc nous sommes en train de rénover, de revamp nos Youth Centers. Et à partir de l'année prochaine, les Youth Hubs seront une réalité. Et dans les Youth Hubs, il y aura un corner dedicated for counseling. Donc, il y aura un service d'écoute qui sera disponible dans tous les Youth Hubs de mon ministère où le jeune qui a besoin d'être écouté, qui a un souci, qui a un problème, qui est rentré, qui a commencé à entrer dans la drogue pourra venir discrètement et parler à un counselor formé. Et j'espère que nos jeunes pourront utiliser ce service au lieu de se laisser influencer et d'aller dans toutes sortes de chemins compliqués qui les mèneraient vers tous les fléaux dont nous sommes en train de parler. Donc, je termine ici, Monsieur le Président, encore une fois. Donc, merci à toute l'équipe du ministre Jagatpal, à son équipe, le ministère. Merci à toute l'équipe de l'Attorney General. Et encore, mon appel, c'est, l'honorable Lobin en a parlé, we have to be united. Et je suis tenté de dire, when we are united, we never walk alone. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Honourable Attorney General. Prior to giving you the floor,
No, no,
do send me the lines that you said were offending. Do send me the precise lines that you say were offending.
Yeah.
And you took
Okay,
the
I will
point.
meet
Thank
you
you
in
very
your
much.
chambers. I think it's time for the debate to be adjourned, and I move accordingly.
Seconded. The question is that the debate be now adjourned. Those in favour say aye, those against say no.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I move for the adjournment of the House for Tuesday, 15th of November at 11:30 a.m.
The House shall adjourn. Adjournment matters. Honourable Nakshari.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. My request tonight is addressed to the Honourable Minister of Agro-Industry and Food Security. It is a request of the inhabitants of number 9 to have an agricultural marketing board outlet in the constituency so that they don't have to go to Mocha each and every time. So, and several spots have been identified. So I will humbly request the Honourable Minister, as a caring minister he is, if he could attend to this request, and the people of number 9 will be very grateful to him.
Honourable Minister.
I have taken good note, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir.
Honourable Fabrice David.
Merci, Monsieur le Vice-président. Ma requête de ce soir s'adresse au ministre des collectivités locales et concerne l'éclairage des terrains de foot municipaux dans la circonscription numéro 1. Alors, comme le ministre le sait probablement, cette circonscription compte 7 terrains de foot gérés par la municipalité de Port-Louis. Je parle ici de terrains en extérieur, en terre naturelle. Et sur ces 7 terrains, 2 d'entre eux sont dépourvus de système d'éclairage. Et ces 2 terrains se trouvent dans la même région de Paille. Il s'agit du terrain du morcellement Raffray et celui de Cité-Saint-Louis. Et je suis certain que le ministre comprendra que les habitants de Paille vivent cette situation comme une injustice, d'autant plus que cette situation dure depuis plusieurs années. Puis-je solliciter l'intervention du ministre auprès de la municipalité de Port-Louis pour que cette injustice, en termes d'éclairage, soit corrigée dans les meilleurs délais?
Honourable Vice Prime
Mr. Deputy Speaker, so I'll pass on the message to Municipal Councillor Port, please.
Honourable Lachmanovi.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. My address tonight goes to the Honourable Minister of Land Transport and Light Rail. At the very outset, I'd like to thank him for and his team of Traffic Road Management Safety Unit for the table raise hump at Le Cornu Sainte-Croix. However, I have 2 more requests. It's from the Baitun Noor Masjid of Karolalo and the Nicolet Road Sainte-Croix in front of Kailason Coville. So there are requests from inhabitants and from users of those roads to have 2 raised tables as you have put in Le Cornu as well. I thank you in advance for your consideration. Thank you.
Honourable Minister, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I have taken good note of the request made by the Honourable Member. I shall do the needful and get in touch with the TMRSU to remedy the situation. Thank you.
Honourable Tu.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, my query is addressed to the Minister of Public Infrastructure regarding Robinson Road in Crèvecoeur. The road is heavily damaged and is very narrow. There is also a bridge that needs to be enlarged there. So I would kindly ask the Honourable Minister to use his good office to look at the issues at Robinson Road, Crèvecoeur. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I've taken good note of the request of the Honourable Member, which I'll look into. Thank you.
Honourable Salim Abbas Mahmood.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. The issue I'm raising tonight is addressed to the Minister of Land Transport and Light Rail. Deputy Speaker, sir, in front of Noor Islam Mosque at Noor Islam Street, Port Louis, recently there has been an accident, and I'm requesting the Minister to replace the traffic light which has been damaged after the accident. This is causing a lot of trouble to, firstly, people going to the mosque, but also for the youth going to school. As you know, this is a turning point. This pedestrian crossing is at a turning point in the region of Noor Islam Street. But allow me, Deputy Speaker, sir, also to convey my gratitude of the inhabitant of number 3 to the Honorable Minister for the installation of traffic ramp at Military Velo Street and in other regions of constituency number 3. I'm sure other ramps are coming. So concerning the traffic light, I'll urge the Minister to look the matter urgently.
I thank the honourable member, Mr. Speaker, sir, for raising the issue. I can assure him that the needful will be done. I will convey the message to the TMRSU and make sure that the appropriate solution is taken. But most probably it is because what happens, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the lights are not readily available. They have to be ordered sometime. The TRMSU doesn't keep them in stock because they are such in great demand. So, but I will ensure that the matter is solved as expeditiously as possible. The honourable member can rest assured, and next time he can thank me again.
Je souhaite m'adresser au ministre de l'Environnement. C'est un problème que j'ai soulevé à plusieurs reprises dans cette Chambre. Cela concerne le parcours de santé à la montagne des Signaux et le parking qui se trouve au pied de la montagne. Beaucoup de gens empruntent ce parcours de santé et comme le parking est fermé, les gens ont tendance à se garer dans les rues adjacentes et cela cause un problème d'embouteillage d'une part, pendant les heures de pointe, et d'autre part gêne les résidents qui ont des difficultés à avoir accès à leur maison et à garer leur véhicule devant leur maison. Donc je fais donc un appel à l'honorable ministre de revoir la décision de son ministère de fermer ce parking au plus vite. Merci.
Monsieur le Président, nous avons eu l'occasion, conjointement avec d'autres autorités, de faire un site visit sur tout le parcours, sur la montagne des Signaux. Et je dois dire que nous avons eu des réunions de coordination avec ces autorités, mais il y a une certaine résistance au niveau des autorités qui sont responsables pour faire des études géotechniques, surtout en ce qui concerne la vulnérabilité des lieux. Donc, les autorités ne sont pas d'accord à ce stade des choses pour procéder à l'ouverture du parcours officiellement et aussi en ce qui concerne le parking. Donc, à la base des études plus approfondies, bien sûr, je viendrai de l'avant pour tenir la Chambre au courant. Et nous sommes aussi en train de faire appel à l'expertise royonnaise pour que nous puissions, une fois pour toutes, résoudre ce problème-là. Mais c'est un problème complexe. Il y va de la sécurité même des membres du public, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Denu.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. My request tonight is addressed to Honorable Alan Ganu, Minister of Land Transport and Light Rail, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade. Let me first of all thank the Minister on behalf of the inhabitants of Cupid Midlands and his team for all the good work he's doing in the constituency. The Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit has started works for a covered footpath at Frédéric Bonnefin for its side, and only part has been completed to the satisfaction of the inhabitants. I'm making a request to the Honourable Minister if he could use his good office to instruct the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit to continue the footpath on Frédéric Bonnefin till
the T-junction where secret beauty parlor is situated for the benefit of the pedestrians and inhabitants of the region. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Once again, I thank the Honourable Member for the matter he has just raised, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I will certainly consult the TMRSU and appraise them of the complaint raised by the Honourable Member, and I can assure him that I will do my level best to solve this situation as soon as possible.
Thank you. Honourable Champagne.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have an issue which is addressed to the Minister of Energy and Public Utilities. Unfortunately, he's not here. I don't know if someone can take up the matter with him. It's with regards to a shortage of water meter at the level of CWA. I have received complaints from various applicants who have made applications to be connected with water supply. Unfortunately, they have been told to wait because of a shortage of water meter at the level of the CWA. I have a lady from Petit Belair in my constituency who has applied for a water supply since 6 months, and she's still waiting to be connected with water supply, and she's been told to wait because there is no water meter. So can the Honourable Minister kindly look into the matter?
Honourable Minister, who shall take it?
Mr. Speaker,
Who shall convey the message?
I will take up the matter with my colleague who sits by my side, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. The Honourable Member was right to have raised this issue. It concerns the well-being of one of our citizens. So I can assure him that I will do the needful. I will do the needful in terms of informing the Honourable Minister about the issue that he has raised. Thank you.
I couldn't even listen to what was said. Shouldn't do that. Thank you very much. I think everybody's done for the day. Good night. Have a safe trip.